and we're going to pepper you with questions about these PCR tests, okay? First off, what is a PCR test?
PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. My friend Kary Mullis invented it in 1983, and he got the Nobel Prize in 1993 for the invention. It basically is a way to amplify teeny tiny traces of genetic material into a carload of stuff. It was meant for commercial purposes to produce proteins and things for biotech. It was never intended to be used as a test for any infectious agent at all.
PCR tests. Why does Dr. Birx, why does Dr. Fauci, why do blue state governors seem to be obsessed with PCR tests?
Well, if it weren't for the PCR tests, they would have no way of calculating these cases, I put that in quotes, of COVID, because the CDC itself says that COVID-19 and flu, they have identically the same symptoms and complications. For example, the symptoms are fever, diarrhea, vomiting, fatigue, muscles, so on and so forth. Complications, pneumonia, respiratory failure, acute respiratory distress syndrome, heart attack, stroke, and so on they go. The lists are identical. So how in the world do you then distinguish between COVID-19 and the flu? The only way is to have a test that comes out positive, and you call the test a PCR test for COVID-19. That's the only way. Now, the problem is that since the 1990s, that's when the PCR tests were first developed for HIV, and since then for other viruses around, other politically significant or substantial viruses, because it allows people erroneously to claim that they can detect a virus, a functioning infectious virus in a person by amplifying trace amounts of viral RNA or segments of RNA. But these tests have never been validated against the actual virus themselves in people. To this day, that is the case. And I'm not the only one saying that. A number of people have brought that up. Jessica Watson stated last May in British Medical Journal, tests need to be evaluated to determine their sensitivity and specificity, ideally by comparison with the gold standard. The gold standard in this case is the virus. The lack of such a clear-cut gold standard for COVID-19 testing makes evaluation of the test accuracy challenging. In plain language, there's no way to know what a positive or negative PCR result means. And if you get rid of that, all you've got left is the flu.
Do you believe that we should be, again, if you're talking to the lieutenant governor right now, a lieutenant governor, would you think that he should be trusting Dr. Fauci?
Oh, Lord, no. I've known about Fauci since the mid-1980s. He started, in fact, Fauci started at the NIAID the same year that the government declared that AIDS was contagious, sexually transmitted, caused by a virus, later called HIV. There was never any scientific publication prior to April 23rd, 1984, at a press conference that any scientist could go to and read anything about this virus. It was declared at a press conference, and that was it, and it remains government policy to this day. Ever since then, we've had the SARS, the MERS, the swine flu, H1N1, and now COVID, that are all based on the same just plain declaration that we've got based on these tests, PCR tests, for example. Every one of them has a PCR test. And not a single one of those PCR tests has been validated by comparison with the virus that is supposed to be testing in a human being.
Now, talk to me about this. Dr. Richard Bartlett, a good friend of mine, Dr. Richard Bartlett, the former top medical advisor for the Texas Governor Perry for 7 consecutive years, he's been treating anybody that has COVID-19 with COVID-19-like symptoms. He's been treating these people who test positive for COVID-19 with budesonide, also known as Pulmicort, and a Z-Pak. And nobody's died at all. Nobody's died. Are people actually dying from this? Because that always is the argument that people go back to is, well, Clay, people really did die. You got to take it seriously. What would you say to that? When people say, well, you got to take it seriously, people really are dying.
I mean, that's the key that I always tell everybody. You don't have to be a scientist. All you got to do, one thing for sure, you can't make up dead bodies. You can count them. And I keep asking people, where are they? And you look at the data, the statistics, and the mortality around the world is no different, certainly in the United States or any other place, from a seasonal flu. People are always dying. Millions of people, are dying all the time. So sure, you can just say, well, they died from this or they died from that. Just because they died, you can put any label you want. In fact, we've had a friend that died of cancer, cervical cancer, and they called her a COVID death. If you're just close to somebody, if you're physically just was near somebody that tested positive for this, then you can be assumed to have been exposed, and you can even be assumed to be a COVID case yourself. A case is just somebody that is declared COVID infected.
So my final question for you is, what's the motive? What's the motive for this virus? What's the motive then for all the media hype about the virus? What's the motive for the PCR test? What's the motives for the quarantines, the shutdowns, the lockdowns, the mask mandates? What's the motive?
Well, ultimately, it serves the same purpose of World War I, World War II. It's for the destruction of Western society so that it can be rebuilt according to somebody else why they wanted to build it. The PCR test performs 4 functions. It produces ever-increasing cases of contrived COVID-19 pandemic. That's number 1. It also collects an individual's DNA to be added to government databases, regardless of the test results. That was released just a week or so ago, that the government includes that test data, your own human DNA, into their database. It also includes an individual's particulars for contact tracing, which leads to a big brother society. And it also prepares children to accept enslavement as normal. This is a crime against humanity. If we outlaw the PCR test, COVID pandemic vanishes overnight.
I don't know if it's too early or not, but would you recommend if someone wants you to take a PCR test, would you recommend that you give them fecal matter from someone you know and see what happens? Would you recommend, is that the best kind of COVID PCR test prank we could do right now? Or if someone has to take one at work, what do you recommend they do?
Well, did you hear that story about the fellow, I forget which country it was, it might have been Kenya?
Tanzania?
That sent a papaya.
Yeah, it's Tanzania.
And a goat. Other DNA, tested positive.
That guy's great.
For the PCR test. No, nobody should take these tests. I'm serious about this. I will never take one of these tests. My wife won't take any of these tests. These tests are horrible, horrible, horrible. If we give into this stuff, we're in the beginning stages of World War III right now. Literally, we're in the preparatory stages, like between Nazi Germany, between the wars. That's exactly where we are right now.
Scientifically, it doesn't seem to me that any of this adds up. So for us common folks out here, us business owners, our regular Americans, the silent majority, as they say, how can we begin to shift this? How can we begin to get the word out to say, hey, these PCR tests are crap? Like, what do we do, David?
Well, we have to practice what we preach. We claim to be Americans, land of the free and home of the brave and all that. We are the people. We have to take charge. We have to